For decades, the Imperial Japanese Navy and Army High Command, architects of the most audacious victories in modern warfare, pored over every scrap of intelligence on America. They studied our shipyards, our factories, our training manuals, and reached one chilling conclusion. We were a decadent, overstuffed merchant nation, soft civilians in uniform, reliant on outdated carriers and a peacetime economy that could never match the disciplined fury of the rising Sunday. They were catastrophically wrong. And the story of the precise moments when Tokyo's war planners watched their calculations crumble under an avalanche of American steel is a testament to industrial resolve that demands to be told. It's tempting now, with the fog of history lifted, to dismiss it as blind hubris. But in late 1941, as the carrier planes of the Kido Butai thundered toward Pearl Harbor, their assessment made perfect sense by samurai standards. Japan had forged an empire through iron will and flawless execution. They had seized Manchuria, crushed China in brutal campaigns, and in a single morning raid, crippled the U.S. Pacific Fleet, 8 battleships burning, 4 carriers, miraculously absent but presumed irrelevant. Their navy, honed by decades of Bushido and tactical genius, ruled the waves from Hawaii to the Indian Ocean. America? A sprawling democracy, isolationist, its army smaller than Portugal's, its shipyards idled by depression. Japanese admirals like Yamamoto, who knew America best, warned of a long war. But even he underestimated the sleeping giant. Tokyo's planners figured 6 months to a year tops before America sued for peace, bled dry by submarine wolf packs and island-hopping attrition. Pearl Harbor was just the opening salvo. Japan surged forward, conquering the Philippines, Malaya, Singapore, the Dutch East Indies in a blitz of conquest unseen since Genghis Khan. By mid-1942, their empire spanned 5,000 miles, fueled by captured oil and rubber. They calculated America needed years to rebuild its shattered fleet, train sailors, and cross the Pacific. Midway changed. Nothing fundamental in their math. 2 carriers lost, a tactical setback. The war would end with Japan dictating terms from fortified atolls. This was the greatest strategic blunder of the Pacific War, and Japan's awakening to an America not of shopkeepers, but of factory titans, didn't crash down in one cataclysm. It unfolded in a cascade of intelligence, reports, shipping logs, and aerial sightings that turned confident smirks to dread. The first fissures appeared in quiet admiralty offices in Tokyo, where analysts sifted neutral cables, merchant manifests, and spy dispatches from the West Coast. The figures stared back like hallucinations. They had to be lies. American propaganda to boost morale. U.S. shipyards, mothballed relics of the 1,930 were birthing destroyers, cruisers, even fleet carriers at rates that mocked physics. Places like Bethlehem Steel and New York Navy Yard weren't riveting hulls the old way, they were welding them in prefabricated slabs. Assembly line miracles. A destroyer that took Japan 2 years? America launched one every 3 months. Then, the Essex-class carriers hit. Massive armored behemoths. 27,000 tons. 90 aircraft each. Japan built the shiny, fast Taiho in secret over 4 years. America rolled out the USS Essex in 14 months, flat. By 1943, as Japanese yards strained for steel, America was commissioning 2 carriers a month. Their vaunted decisive battle fleet doctrine, useless against an enemy that could replace losses faster than subs could sink them. But ships were just the start. The skies told an even grimmer tale. Mitsubishi's vaunted Zero fighters, agile dogfight kings, were handcrafted by artisans in small batches. American factories, like North American Aviation in California, treated P-51 Mustangs like automobiles mass-produced on conveyor belts, 10,000 by war's end. Reports trickled in. Willow Run, that Ford behemoth in Michigan, spat out B-24 Liberators like sausages, one every hour. Japan, master of efficiency, built 3,000 heavy bombers total across the war. America? Over 18,000 B-24 seconds and B-17 seconds, while fighting Germany too. Japanese planners cross-checked. U.S. output dwarfed the empires by 1.0 to 1-inch aircraft, 5 to 1-inch merchant tonnage. Even as I-boats ravaged Allied convoys early on, America launched 7,000 merchant ships, Liberty and Victory hulls sliding down ways weekly, outpacing sinkings by double. The vital supply lines to Australia, China, and Russia not severed. Growing. Disturbing. Deeply disturbing. War is arithmetic. Planes, hulls, bombs. Japan clung to one. Solace, a century-old truth. Material alone doesn't win. Give a factory drone a 0, he still no. Kamikaze. The real proof would come in the crucible of battle. The choral infernos of the Solomons and Gilberts. Early clashes seemed to vindicate them. At Guadalcanal in 42, green U.S. Marines bled for every ridge, their wildcats outflown by Zeros. Japanese veterans sneered Americans cautious, wasteful with fuel, lacking the banzai spirit. Even at Tarawa, the bloodbath cost 1,000 Marines for a speck of sand. Tokyo breathed easier. Yes, mountains of gear, but squandered by amateurs. Japanese Elon, island defenses, would grind them down. This illusion endured through the meat grinder of New Guinea and the Philippines approaches. U.S. forces adapted. Sure, better radar. Hellcats shredding Zeros, but at horrific cost. Japan mastered attrition defense, bleeding the enemy yard by yard. Their final pillar of confidence stood until the dawn of 1944, when the armada for Saipan darkened the horizon. Not the scale hundreds of ships, explained by factories. No, the philosophy shattered them. Industrial, blitzkrieg, solving every problem with overwhelming volume. Picture a Japanese commander in place Kamine, a bunker, binoculars fogged, watching the prelude to hell. In the imperial way, naval gunfire was precise, shells husbanded for the big clash. Americans? Different rules. Insane to samurai eyes. A single enemy destroyer nestling behind a reef? No. Torpedo charge, no suicide run. The U.S. Task Force commander, a reserve lieutenant, fresh from a desk job, grabs the radio. First, his cruiser's 8 inches bark. Silent? Call in battleships. USS Iowa lobs 16-inch shells like city blocks. Still kicking? Carrier air wings swarm. Hellcats, Avengers, Dauntlesses dropping 500-pounders and napalm. Minutes later, a reef pulverized to rubble, steaming lagoon. Only then do landing craft churn forward. To Japanese officers, it screamed cowardice, no bushido, no close quarters glory, but effective. Devastatingly so. Their God Emperor's warriors annihilated. Ammo dry. No resupply while Americans pressed endless. This core rift defined the endgame. Japanese logistics. Lean, just enough. Every rice ball sacred. Waste, unthinkable. American quartermasters, abundance gods. Captured dumps baffled. IJN, spies, pyramids of shells, fuel drums to the horizon. Spare props stacked like lumber, uncovered. In monsoons, defying Bushido thrift. But it meant U.S. forces never paused 24/7 ops. Fire, 10,000 rounds at one atoll pillbox. Millions more en route. By Leyte Gulf, 44's naval apocalypse. Japan threw everything. Yamato, Musashi, super battleships of legend. America countered with 200-plus warships, 1,000 planes. Musashi took 19 torpedoes, 17 bombs before sinking. Irreplaceable. U.S. losses? Quickly rebuilt. Even that paled against the aerial Armageddon. Japan's army, like Germany's, marched on foot or mule 80% animal-powered elite divisions motorized scraps. America? Fully mechanized, 2.5-ton trucks, jeeps galore. A Japanese division redeploys 50 miles. Days of slog, troops footsore. Americans load up, arrive, fueled, fighting ready. In hours. This tempo crushed island. Defenses. Operation Forager at Saipan. Carpet bombs erase positions. Shermans roll ashore by thousands. Japan fielded hundreds total. Marines advance behind walking barrages. Banzai. Charges met flame tanks, half-tracks, mowing them like wheat. The breaking point hit during the Philippines campaign, October 44. Halsey's Third Fleet, reborn carriers steaming at flank speed, struck Formosa first 400 planes, annihilating IJN Air. Japanese codebreakers screamed. How? Factories flooding replacements. Late. Ozawa's decoy. Fleet lured Spruance. Halsey charged, leaving San Bernardino Strait naked. 6 taffy tin can. Destroyers faced Yamato's heavies, suicidally brave, torpedoes turning the behemoths. Japan gambled on genius maneuvers. America answered with production. Essex after Essex. Pilots rotated fresh. Admirals like Kurita, peering through smoke, saw the math fail. Every victory, a sunk carrier cost Japan eternity to replace. America lost 200 vessels total, launched 1,000. What followed was industrial extermination. The Red Ball Express of the sea, truck-like convoys of oilers, ammo ships sustaining 60-knot advances. Iwo Jima, Okinawa, hellscapes where kamikazes sank pickets. But carriers? 98 attacked, 17 hits total. U.S. yards built, 150 escorts monthly. Tokyo's warlords, scanning manifests, grasped the void. Field manuals, captured. Ammo rates triple Japan's maximum. Spares for wasteful ops. Pilots as replaceable. As propellers vets home to train, green aces fed in. Japan prized the ace's spirit. America, the line's output. By spring 45, as B-29s from Marianas built 7,000-strong incinerated Tokyo nightly admirals, like Ozawa penned defeatist memos. Material gap total. U.S. outproduced Japan 2-0 to 1 peak. Tactical brilliance. Local wins. Operational doom. Every zero downed. Every sub lost. Irreplaceable. America? Stronger weekly. The math inexorable. One final gasp. Homeland. Invasion prep. But factories whispered the end. Endless superforts. Planned 12,000. If this deep dive into history grips you like it does us, we unpack these stories weekly. Subscribers, keep it rolling. Hit that button. Join the fight for forgotten truths. The machine had awakened, and it couldn't be stopped.